Right on. Thanks again for tuning in. This is the Graveyard Shift, and tonight I've got Peter from Blood Red Roses on the phone. What's going on, Peter?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Nice,
Dan, I'm very happy to be on the phone with you.
nice. How you been? What's going on with you and everything?
Yeah, it's we got a lot of exciting stuff coming up with the band right now. We just actually roughly 3 weeks ago we released a video from a song off of our fairly recent EP. The EP is called "A Tempest Descends," and the song we did released the video for is a song called "Dark Before the Storm." It's on Vimeo, it's on YouTube, of course, and it's on our website as well. So it's all pretty much everywhere where you would expect to find a band's video for sure. Yeah, and then we got some really cool things coming up. I mean, we signed a deal with Curtain Call Records out of Ohio back in November. And just a couple of the more namely shows we got coming up. We're opening up as direct support for Saliva on April 2nd in Clifton, New Jersey, and another couple of cool events are we're doing a show called Shelter Slam. I believe Tantric is on the bill. Joey Belladonna's solo project is on the bill as well.
Right on.
So we're doing that in later on in April, and then in early June we're playing a festival, Metal in the Mountains Festival in Pipestem, West Virginia. So it's called Metal in the Mountains, and it's a killer festival. Butcher Babies and a bunch of other cool bands are on the bill. So we're looking forward to it.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was looking at that flyer, and that's gonna be an awesome weekend.
Yeah, we can't wait. We're really stoked. There's a couple other festivals that are the labels working on right now to get us on for the summer. So too soon for me to make any announcements, but I would just tell anybody who digs our music just to keep checking our website and or our Facebook page, and we'll certainly put any updates up there as we get them.
Right on. So you guys are out of like New Jersey, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Right
sir.
on. What's the scene like out there for you?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I think there it's interesting because I speak to a lot of bands. I think that the live music scene, or certainly the original live music scene, kind of took a little bit of a hit in the early 2000s, where it was, I don't know whether it was because of hip hop or pop music kind of coming to the fore more so than it's been, or whatever. But there was a little dip there. But I get the sense over the last 5, 6, 7 years that the original live music scene starting to rebuild, not only in New Jersey but really across the country. And it's a slow build, I think, but it's definitely improving, and that's a good sign. So we're excited about that.
That isn't always a good sign because for a long
Yeah.
time it seemed like they were all just like one venue after another was just like disappearing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think part of that is just because I think some venues kind of sold their soul to the devil a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think that they were in the old days, back in the 70s, from what I hear, there was a lot more venues that would just have a regular crowd who would come in and support original music. But those venues were pretty picky about who they let play at their club.
Right.
So people knew when they showed up on any given day, they were going to get a good band. I think clubs kind of got to the point where they didn't care about the quality of the band as long as a given band could show up with, and sell tickets. And I think that once you kind of make that trade-off where you're saying that, hey, I don't care about how good you are as long as you show up to the show with 50 or 100 people, you can come play spoons if you want to. I think that's a little bit, you're selling your soul to the devil because you're not going to be able to build a regular clientele that way. And I think that kind of happened in the late 90s and the early 2000s. But hopefully, if you find there's some clubs who are being a little bit more particular about the bands that they're having come in. So
Nice. Very cool.
yeah, yeah, man. I'm trying to think what else we got going down. Right now, yeah, we are. So it's funny. We've been working with in the last couple of years with a engineer who actually recorded was the main engineer on two Seven Dust albums and a couple of Breaking Benjamin's early albums. Guy by the name of Mike Ferretti. He's a fantastic engineer, and he's helped us also co-produce our EP, A Tempest Descends, and we have a whole album's worth of material right now.
Nice.
Ready to go. But I don't know we're going to be, if we have the budget to do the whole album, but we're certainly over the course of the next year or two going to be recording, 2-3 tracks at a time, and probably, be putting out some more EPs. It just seems the way to go these days.
Yeah.
And then see how that goes, and hopefully down the line we'll get the opportunity and the funding to do a whole album. So we're still have the mindset that there's some magic in doing a whole album. I know that a lot of the younger bands are going the whole EP route and single route, and that's one way to do it. But we like the idea of an album.
Yeah, it's the way it should be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm trying to think what else we got going down. Yeah. I mean, I think those are certainly the big events for us from a gig perspective or a music perspective right now. I mean, certainly the biggest show is that Saliva show on April 2nd, and as far as the one that's closest on the calendar right now, so we're pretty stoked about that because we're pretty sure that venue is going to be slam packed for that.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what we got going on.
Right on. How long has Blood Red Roses been a band?
Yeah, so we've been around since 2017. The seeds of it were started 2016, but the reality is, or the truth of it is that we've all known each other for years. Actually, 3 of us were in a previous band together, and that never really got wide acclaim. But we, at the end of the day, we knew each other and we had to work together. And it just so happened that, all of us were kind of in transient situations where either bands were coming to an end that we were in, or just the timing was right. So we were like, hey, it seems like we're all available. So why don't we start going work together again? And it took us a little while to kind of get our footing and decide what we wanted to sound like. But now I think we're really comfortable about what we are as a band. We're not really a metal band, but we're kind of harder than hard rock. We kind of just call ourselves heavy rock, and let people decide from there whether it's their thing or not.
Yeah, I definitely dig the sound.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, we kind of draw on that classic metal, the early Metallica, Megadeth, some of the Pantera, but I mean, we also try to draw on a lot of other things as well. So there's definitely, I like to think that it's a mix of an older sound and a newer sound. At least that's how we look at it. I don't know. It's hard to see how other people perceive it, but that's how we perceive it. So
I kind of think if there's a Sabbath fan, they'd like you guys.
I'd like to think that, yeah.
And if there's a Pantera fan, they'd like you guys. Crowbar. I mean, that the whole metal scene. You guys just awesome sound. I just dig it.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's weird because over the last 20 years, the definition of what's metal has changed, and there's so many variations of it, and we understand that there's some metal bills that we fit on and other metal bills just because of the nature of the bands where it's like it's not a really great fit.
Right.
And if we're talking about extreme thrash, dark, black, death metal bands, I mean, we're not that, and we know we're not that, but then you get other bands that have maybe a little bit more focus on melodicism, and we're like, okay, well, that's something where we're heavy but we're also melodic, and that's more of our sweet spot. So it's kind of like knowing where you fit in the scene, and I think we're still in a situation where we're kind of picking and choosing what kind of shows we do, because if it's an extreme death black metal show, we don't really fit with that.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But if it's a band that's a little bit more of a mix and kind of has that a bit of an old school or melodic element in their sound, then it's definitely a good fit for us.
Nice.
For sure.
Yeah, very cool.
So I'm trying to think what else we got going on, but yeah, that's really we're working on. The only thing else I would mention is we're working on a lyric video for another song off of our EP, which once again is called The Tempest Descends. The song is called Pieces on the Ground. It's probably one of the heaviest songs on the EP.
Yeah.
And we don't have the budget right now to do a all-out video, but we're going to do a lyric video that I think is going to turn out really cool. Started working on it. It's probably a month or so out
Nice.
before we're going to release it. But I would just tell people, just once again, just keep our eye on our website, which is Blood Red Roses. And I know that it's confusing because we spell it differently, but it's BLUD for any of your listeners,
Right.
because some people don't realize that we're being all metal like that and calling it Blood Red Roses with a U. We have so our website's bloodredroses.com. We have a Instagram, where we also have obviously a big Facebook presence. We have a Facebook page. And we're also on Twitter. So pretty much, all the standard formats you would expect to find a band. We have videos out on YouTube as well. So, people are interested in what we're all about, they can find us in a lot of different places.
Right on. Right on. You want to talk about any of the songs?
Yeah, Pieces on the Ground. I mean, it's weird. I think that I've been seeing it a lot over the last 4 years, and it's not about getting political, even though I guess at the core of it is political. But no matter what side of the fence somebody's on, I mean, I've been seeing families and friendships getting torn apart by kind of this political polarity that's kind of in the country right now.
Yeah, right.
Where it's like there's just no sense of a middle right now. And it's kind of like you're either on one side or the other, and it's scary because you kind of see, as I said, it right down to the family level, right down to the friends level. You see people just kind of distancing themselves from each other because of where they stand ideologically. And so that song's really about, hey, if we don't fix this, then it could lead to some serious crap. So that's really what that song's about.
Yeah, that was actually the first song I heard from you guys. I think that was the one that Curtain Call sent over to me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
No, it's one of our heaviest songs, and it's funny. I would say that song, from a heaviness perspective, is probably, looking at the songs we have unrecorded or haven't recorded yet, it's probably more representative of where we're headed. It's our sound is developing in a more heavy area than what the rest of that EP is, and I'm proud of the EP. But as we've figured out what we want our sound to be, we're definitely heading in a direction where that Pieces on the Ground is pretty representative of where we're heading as a band.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah,
I'll dig that. That's for sure.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Right on.
As far as I'm trying to think what else. I mean, another song, "Writing on the Wall." That's just a relationship betrayal song. Where we've all been there. And it's kind of biographical, not for me, but for one of the members of our band. So, and we all kind of, when you're in a band, you kind of live it together because you see what your friend's going through.
Right.
And so that was written just based on, seeing somebody that's like a brother to you going through a really rough situation, and kind of interpreting that in a song. So that's what that tune's about. All the Same to Me is about lethargy, is about people who bitch and complain about stuff but don't want to lift a finger to change anything.
Right.
And it's kind of like it's a kind of a sarcastic title, because it's like, people are willing to complain about stuff, but a lot of people aren't willing to do anything about changing or improving stuff. So that song's kind of like a sarcastic title, where it's like, it's all the same to me. Well, but I still want the right to complain. And I'm kind of like, well, screw off. If you're not willing to do anything, then I don't want to hear what you got to say. So that's what that song's about. Yeah, man. So that's what I got for you, unless you got any questions for me.
What's the plans? I mean,
right now, Curtain Call's helping us with building our radio presence. And they're certainly helping us with promoters, concert promoters, and getting us visibility across the country. A lot of it in this world and the way that where the record industry is at right now, there's the old model is clearly doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So it's a question about, trying to get your music in as many people's hands like yourself, who have an audience who can, get us some spins, if you will, using some old terminology,
Right.
so people can hear hear our music, and hopefully we can start building a larger national fan base. And as that happens, as I said, we're playing West Virginia. There's a chance we might be going out to Reno later in the year, in Nevada. And as we start building pockets of a broader national following, we're gonna follow that up with performances wherever those pockets crop up. And we've only been with Curtain Call now for 3.5, 4 months, so they're still working the radio and working the channels to get us the airplay and get us known, and let the public know about us. And our hope is that as we start growing a fan base, we'll play anywhere and everywhere they'll have us.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Right on. What was your influences that got you into music?
Yeah, it's that's interesting because each and every one of us we have some stuff that overlap, and then we have some stuff which we're all very different on in terms of what we listen to, and I think that actually helps our sound a lot. I mean, I grew up not listening, in my early years. I had two older brothers, I have two older brothers who were listening to a lot of 70s classic rock. So I grew up initially listening to a lot of that. When you're a younger brother, you listen to what your older brothers listen to. So, I grew up listening to, the Doobie Brothers and Meatloaf and Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. And Leonard Skinner, and just being, Boston was a big one that we listened to a lot too. And so I kind of grew up young on that stuff. And then as I got older, my taste started changing, and getting more individual. Like, obviously, I would say my gateway to harder music, I guess, would have been Van Halen originally. And then from Van Halen, I got into Rush. And then but then, obviously I started hearing, be getting more and more interested in what heavier things I was hearing. So got into Metallica. And once I got into Metallica, then, it was kind of like the pathway
Right.
was in front of me, because that was the rabbit hole that, led down to, the Megadeths and the Panteras, the Slayers, the Testaments, the Exodus, all that.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, we were always, I think as a band, all of us were fairly open to even newer bands that came after, well, not newer bands, but newer bands, the second generation after the Metallicas, bands like Korn, bands like Deftones, bands like, early Linkin Park, that kind of stuff. And then beyond that, even bands like Disturbed, Breaking Benjamin, were big influences. Obviously, Slipknot, Stone Sour. So yeah, I mean, we're all over the map, and I think that's one of the reasons why we don't necessarily identify as a strict metal band, because
Right.
we want to be able to kind of like we want to do, if we want to go super thrashy on one song, we're going to do it. And if we want to back off and maybe be a little bit more melodic on another song, maybe more like Stone Sour as opposed to Slipknot, just to kind of give that Corey Taylor, the two sides of Corey Taylor example, where
Right.
in one band he's much more melodic and song driven, and the other song's obviously just brutality, you know. We we're trying to dance that line where we can do both,
Yeah.
and I think that'll always be what we're about.
Nice. That way you don't get like typecast kind of thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's as a songwriter too. It's you just want to have more brushes to color with. I think that if I had to write the same song, the same vibe every single time, it would get boring for me. I mean, I love heavy, brutal music. That's great, but it's also really cool to be able to take the foot off the gas a little bit sometimes to hit a different vibe or a different emotion or whatever, a different
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that that makes it the music ultimately collectively more interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the other members in the band, if I think about it, our drummer Matt's the metalhead in the band. He likes things that aren't metal, but I mean, he is dyed in the wool. I mean, he's an encyclopedia of metal, going back from the late '70s, early '80s to modern day. You mention a band and he's heard it, he knows about it, he can list his favorite albums. Our guitar player loves his metal, but he was also a classic rock kid. So while he's a huge Testament guy, and loves Megadeth and Pantera, he loves himself some Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
So that's another he's kind of like, he'll go that route just as easily. Our bass player, it's weird. He kind of grew up on Manowar. He's a big Manowar guy. He loves Megadeth, but he's also like an Indigo Girls fan. So go figure. And I think all of us have that kind of quirkiness to us, where on one level we listen to really brutally heavy music, and on the other level we listen to stuff that definitely has nothing to do with metal.
Right.
So it goes both ways, but I think one helps with the other, as
Yeah,
far
absolutely.
as songwriting is concerned. So
yeah, that's cool.
yeah, it was funny because we saw last year. We met Joey Belladonna. So Joey Belladonna, lead singer from Anthrax, he has a side project called Chief Bigway, and he's the drummer in it. And some of your listeners may be aware of it, but it was really funny because we had he's a super nice dude. I mean, he was just like, I was talking to him for like 10 minutes, and I was like, I don't want to take too much of your time. And he was like, no, dude, we're good. And he was just, they couldn't have been a nicer guy.
That's cool.
And he plays drums in this band, and it's basically an '80s classic rock cover band.
Wow.
It's not metal at all. And it was just so weird sitting there watching him play drums in Chief Bigway, which is this classic rock cover band. There's videos of this Chief Bigway band online, so anybody's interested can see it. And it's just and he's a good drummer, and obviously his voice is killer. So he has a little headset on, and he's doing his versions of Styx songs and Boston, and it's just like, this is so surreal. And he was like, yeah, last week we were at some festival in front of 50,000 people at this metal festival, and just seeing him 1 week later on this little stage doing a cover set of Styx songs, I was like, what the hell is this? But anyway, but he's a super nice dude and super talented.
Really cool.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Yeah, we've had the chance to meet a couple people over the past year. Bobby Blitz from Overkill, he's another guy we met, who's once again super nice dude. He actually is a Jersey guy, so we were playing a show, and he wasn't there to see us. I'd love to say that he was out there to see us, but I think he was just rooting around looking for something to do on that night. And the club we were playing was, I guess, fairly close to where he lives in North Jersey, and he popped by and couldn't have been a nicer dude. And that's a guy I think Overkill is criminally underrated.
Yeah.
In terms of what their contribution to thrash and metal is, but once again, super nice guy.
Very cool. I think my only brush with a rock star was a bunch of years ago when Ace Frehley had just started doing Frehley's Comet.
Oh yeah.
We were in Salt Lake City, and he was like the first band, and I want to say like maybe Y&T and somebody else was there that night.
Uh-huh.
And so me and my buddy go into the bathroom to smoke a joint, and we're just standing around, just talking, and this guy comes walking out of the stall, and he's just like, "Hey guys, what's up?" It's like, "Oh, nothing. You want some of this?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." So we're standing around and we're smoking, and none of us know who he is because we've never seen him without his makeup before.
Yeah.
Right.
He's a really chill dude too. I mean, he's not a real, he'll just sit and I've heard a lot of interviews with him, and it's funny. You could tell that. I could totally imagine that if you don't know who he is.
Yeah.
He's so unassuming. So
and he just walks up and he goes, "So, and we were talking about Kiss, because we had, like read in the Circus magazine how Kiss wasn't going to let him do certain things, and we're like, yeah, that's bullshit, And
he liked that.
And he's like, yeah, it is what it is. And And he goes, well, I better get out there. I'll see you guys out there. And I'm like, all right, see you later. So
That's
we had
crazy.
some crazy shitty seats, and so we kind of pushed our way to the front. So we're standing right there, like by the barricade. And he came over and started playing on that side of the stage instead of out in the middle or whatever.
Hmm.
And we were told that we wanted to hear like "Shock Me" and watch him burn his guitar.
Yeah.
And so he does a couple of sets, and he comes out and he's doing an encore, and he goes, "This is for my friends right here in the front row." And he's
Oh,
pointing at us, and we're like,
wow.
"Holy shit, that's the fucking dude we were smoking with in the bathroom."
That is so cool. That is awesome.
That was
Yeah,
cool.
I saw, so you may recall this, but this was going back, I don't know, 18, 20, maybe even more than that. I'm dating myself, but like 20 years, maybe even a little bit more than that. It was 2 years, or yeah, 2 years before the reunion tour,
Uh-huh.
which I think was 99, 98, I don't know, somewhere around there. And me and a buddy of mine, there was a big club in Jersey at that time called the Birch Hill nightclub. And all the club sized bands who were nationally touring bands, but club sized bands would come through the Birch Hill. Slayer was, at that time Skid Row wasn't quite as big as they had been, so they were doing the club rounds at that point as well, and bands like that. And and anyway, so me and my bass player, actually, he was my bass player then too, Dave, we were like, hey, we had nothing going on a night, and we saw that Peter Criss and Ace Frehley were touring together
Oh, nice.
with their separate bands. So they weren't playing together, but they were on the same bill. Peter Criss opening, Ace Frehley's Comet closing the show, and literally it was a bad day for a show. It was midweek or something. I don't know. I remember wasn't really well attended, but it was so funny because 3 years later, in the reunion tour, we went to go see Kiss at Madison Square Garden. Obviously, it was freaking packed. And we were like, yeah, this is a little bit different than the show we saw 3 years ago, Burt Show, where there was like 600 people in the club,
Right.
and they're in the arena now in front of 20,000 people. I guess it's a little bit of a different vibe for them. So
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine that would be crazy.
yeah,
Being in
it's
front
just
of a big ass crowd like that.
yeah. I mean, and I think I don't know. I mean, I hope to have that problem one day, but
Yeah.
I got to imagine that once you're used to constantly playing in front of 10 or 15,000 people, and you're going there and you're playing in front of 500 people. It's probably a little bit of a come down,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I guess it still pays the bills if you're getting paid, right?
That's
So
true. It seemed like for a little while, you'd see like these bigger bands hitting like the crappy dive venues. Like
yeah,
trying to come back from their roots or something. I don't know.
yeah, no, I know. Well, Marilyn Manson did that. Korn did that over. I'm thinking just over the last couple of years,
Yeah.
and some of the bigger bands. Korn did that. Marilyn Manson did that. Shinedown did that. Yeah, it seems like that is something that some of the bigger bands are kind of throw into their yearly touring schedule, these little smaller club shows
Right.
compared to the arena shows they're used to doing, which I think is a cool idea.
Yeah.
So can't hurt.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, there was a place that I went to in Jersey a long time ago called Dingbats. Is that place still around?
Yeah, well, that's our haunt. That's
Is
our
it?
home. That's our home club.
Nice. That place.
Dingbats is our home. Yeah,
That
it's
place
still
is
around.
that place is badass.
Yeah, it's so funny because that's a club where that still gets quite a few, I would say, New York-based metal people as regulars just hanging out at the bar. I
Right.
mean, the guys from Symphony X hang out there. Guys from Overkill, you can see them there. I'm trying to think of who else, but I mean, there's quite a few bands who are situated in either Manhattan or the guys from that metal show, Eddie Trunk, Don Jameson, and Jim Florentine. Those guys all kind of have had Jersey roots, and they regularly will show up there on it, a couple times a year. So I mean, it's still kind of is the kind of go-to North Jersey metal bar. You
Nice.
know, it's a good place. Yeah, for sure.
Good to hear it's still around.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of the I would say that that is one of the big ones in Jersey. But you know, we're trying to expand. I mean, and that's really the trick now. And that's where we're hoping that the radio promotion helps us out, where we can, because you know, clubs want, you know, guarantee of, you know, each band bringing people. And obviously, you know, when you're trying to get into new markets, you know, you need that support. You need the radio support, and you need people to be able to hear your music so they can start to dig you and want to support you. So that's kind of the mode we're in right now.
Nice. Right on.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Well, cool. Anything else you want to talk about?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else interesting that I would have to share. Yeah, we're on a sabbatical right now just because our drummer had carpal tunnel, so he had surgery. So it's only, you know, he had the surgery 2 weeks ago, and we have a show already scheduled for March 21st. So he'll be back. He's already starting. He's like, he just texted me last night. He's like, okay, I think I'm ready to slowly start practicing again.
Right on.
So we're like, all right, but take it easy. We can't afford to lose you. We got too many big shows coming up for you to get more injured. So he's doing that. But yeah, no, you know, right now, honestly, we've been just really just spending our time getting the word out there. You know, Curtain Call has been a great partner in, you know, getting us in front of folks like you and other, you know, radio stations across the country, and you know, folks who are willing to play us and spread the word about us. And you know, I think that's our main focus right now. Just make sure that we're letting people know about us, giving them the opportunity to hear what we're all about, and hopefully we gain some fans along the way, and you know, we get people showing up when we play.
Right on.
So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, Dan. I think that's all I got for you. That at least all I got that anybody would give a crap about. Nobody needs to hear how I'm about to go food shopping.
Right. Right on. Well, shit. Thanks again for taking out your time and getting this done, Pete.
Yeah, Dan, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And please let me know, you know, if you have a date in mind as to when you're going to do this, because I'll definitely promote it on all of our social media channels, just so we can get you exposure, more exposure as well, you know, in our area.
Thanks, dude.
All right, man.
Yeah, probably going to run this on Wednesday.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I will. If you get a specific time in mind as to when that is, just let me know, because like I said, I'll post it everywhere, you know, on all of our sites, and I'll just say, hey, everybody, tune into Dan, and give it a listen, and we'll get you we'll get a bump to your listenership.
Right on. Sweet, man.
All right, man. Well, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome, and thanks again for taking out your time, and keep rocking, dude.
Yeah, you too.